Yari lads, lesser than MBs, welcome back to the Breaking Brad podcast. And in today's episode, we have our first ever guest. Do you realise how incredibly talented you are? Like, your graphic design work is fucking bar none.
So it just kind of went from there. People saw what I was doing and liked it, and I got more opportunities from that. Like, we're small time. We are all small time. No matter if you hold a championship at our level, outside of popping the boys, it means fuck all.
What is the meaning behind the project?
The definition of bullying, without having it in front of me, is like a persistent, meaningful, purposeful attack on someone, to try and, negatively affect them. I've been there in a group chat where someone has said that the worst thing about the speaking out movement was that it gave women egos. I love Richard. I won't hear any bad talk about Richard.
Yari lads, lesser than MBs, welcome back to the Breaking Brad podcast. And in today's episode, we have our first ever guest. First of all, I just want to say Happy New Year's, and I hope you all had a very wonderful Christmas. Of course, I'm joined by my wonderful, elegant co-host, who's thankfully had a shave, Travis, and of course, today, our first ever guest is just I'm doing the intro. It's the beautiful, the majestic, the Ty Harper, ladies and germs.
Hey yo, hello. This is my real voice when I'm not on your TV. I'm not on TV, but I wish I was. That'd be good, wouldn't it? Crime Watch. I'd be on Crime Watch probably.
You were on there too. Right, so from what I know from my time with Ty, not only within the wrestling business, but of course him being, don't feel too much pressure to put too much stock in your own thing, but like, my guy, do you realise how incredibly talented you are? Like, your graphic design work is fucking bar none. I genuinely, and I'm not trying to lick your ass around, although I would if you would let me. Like, I genuinely haven't seen anyone whose work is on par with yours. Like, I'm sure there's somewhere out there, but like, the stuff that I've seen you make, not only for me, but other people and for yourself, it's fucking phenomenal, mate. So if you could just take us through that, like your early stages, how it, how like you got into it, and like just building up from the early days to now.
Cheers. Honestly, that means so much. Because I know that I've done, especially kind of in the early, I'll say the early days is when we kind of started getting into it properly from your vlogs. Because when we first started, I remember watching your vlog. I think it was literally like the like kind of becoming a wrestler kind of thing, the very early ones that you did. I still remember you kind of the shout out that you gave me then, and you were kind of going on talking about the design I did at the time, which was, that meant, so much to me and still does. It sounds like weird because most people like spend their whole lives like drawing or doodling or, stuff like that. But I was never good at it. I was literally never good at drawing or anything like that. It's only kind of as technology's gotten better and, you can use graphic design kind of, like Illustrator and, programs to kind of help you and stuff like that. It's only then that I really started getting into it. Because when I first did the logos for NSAW, that was like maybe like the third like kind of actual drawing that I'd kind of done where I was actually trying to do something. I only started doing kind of design when we started wrestling. So, what's that, like those couple of years ago when we got back into it. And I can't even remember how they approached me about it. I think they had a logo at the time that was just like the words, just like really simple. And I think I offered to do it for them and it went from there. But that just kind of, I figured I'd give it a go. And then that just kind of spurred into this, what I've kind of gone into doing now. So it's kind of snowballed from there with everything. And I remember doing your first one. because it's just in case anyone doesn't know, it's like a skull with the first one that I did for you was like the skull with the law scales on the arms, wasn't it? Yeah. And then we turned that into your second. I think it was the second one that you had. When I kind of redid it after experiments with like the smoking like gun fingers and that, and still keeping like the red jaw and everything. So it was it just kind of made me fall in love with the kind of taking someone's personality or aspects of their gimmick and things like that, because I don't really do it for anything outside of wrestlers and outside of wrestling. I've dabbled, but like mostly it's wrestlers, because it's taking that kind of that gimmick and turning it into something that you can use to advertise yourself with. Well, I do all the Blackheart ones, as you know. So all of the kind of logo designs and things like that, other than the first one that they kind of have. The main one, that was I was given that to work with, which is good. But all like the posters and things like that, I do. And it's quite interesting seeing from where I started a couple of years ago. You can, especially when it's the same person, but I've reworked them, because I go back and rework them as I improve on things. So it's like, for example, if I'm talking about myself, my own ones, starting from the very first like Champ Rogers logo that I had in my old gimmick, it was just text. It was a number one, like world's best dad, and like Champ Rogers, the super dad, things like that on there, King of Barbecue style, which obviously stole from like Shinsuke's King of Strong style. But going from that to then what I've got for my Warhog one, I completely did my Warhog design, so it's based on myself with like the face paint and everything on there. So it's it just kind of went from there. People saw what I was doing and liked it, and I got more opportunities from that, and it just kind of turned into I think I'm probably more known for doing the graphics and things than I am for actually wrestling, because I'm the first to say that. Am I allowed to swear? I forgot to ask, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Because I will like be the first to admit that I'm like a dog shit wrestler in general. But like when it comes to the graphics, that I take quite a lot of pride in. I think that's what kind of I generally am more kind of known for. I say known for as if anyone fucking knows me anyway. But if anyone knows me for anything, it's either that. It's usually that. So I've done it for a couple of different like companies now as well, which is kind of massive. And I did one for Ali Catch, the over in America.
Oh shit!
Yeah, that's the biggest name I've ever done one for. It was really simple. It's like a design that she's got, where basically it's got like a name and some shit on the front of it, with like some like it looks like kind of death metal kind of writing.
Yeah.
So it's just I did that for her, and that's the biggest one that I've done for her. It's nice knowing that there's someone that's out there who's quite big and has a following, and you can see your own kind of designs involved on that, which is cool.
I was going to ask, like, did you already like know how to do this before the opportunity came, or did you how did you learn, like YouTube videos or something like that?
No, I just fucking winged it. Like what I used when I first started, and it was basically like it was effectively just rearranging text and things like that. Was it was an app called Logo Pit, and it's just free, just a free app, and it's got you can pay like £2, and I paid like £2, and you get like access to like some assets and things, and you can move them about. So I had no idea what I was doing. I literally Googled like logo designing, app, that kind of thing. And I remember because we had a NSAW roster chat at the time, and someone posted like we were all fucking about and like talking about gimmicks and stuff like that, and someone said, "Oh, I want a logo for this kind of thing." I think it was supposed to say like Sinister or something like that, and someone did a really bad drawing of it, and I saw that, and I was like, take a little bit of pride in your work. I thought, fuck it, I could do better than that. And I suppose it was me trying to, because when none of us really knew each other outside of people that kind of, because I wasn't part of like fucking, what was it, SWF or anything like that. I didn't do the backyard and shit or anything like that. I joined because Ash Gungo Muttley, was brought in as a trainer, and I've been best mates with him for like 10 years. So, it was in my local area. He mentioned it to me, and that's why I came along. But yeah, I was just like, that is a fucking shit design. So I thought I'll just give it a go. And literally all I did was kind of draw out, I put the text on there, but then I just drew out like a cross, like a metal kind of gothic cross, and just used that as like an upside down T for the T in Sinister, and everyone, kind of sucked my dick because they thought that looked great, but, it was a kind of, and Brad will be able to attest to this, it was a group of people where you could shit on a fucking plate and they'd be like, this is the best shit I've ever seen. So even though it wasn't particularly good, it was better than what they did. So I probably offended someone now who actually that drew that original shit one. Sorry, whoever you are, I can't remember who it was, but it was fucking shit. So, but no, I've totally gone off of the question you asked. No, I had no like experience at all, other than like doodling. It was literally, you know what, fuck it, I'll give it a go. It's my toxic trait. Well, one of my many toxic traits is that I always look at something and think I can do it better than someone else, even when I probably can't. But in this case, it turned out that I could. Just to, again, suck my own dick a little bit.
So, obviously, me and Bradley know you from wrestling, more specifically, is where we all kind of interacted with each other. So, take us a bit on, like, a little bit of a retrospective journey of, like, where your fandom from wrestling came from and how you ended up turning that fandom into actually stepping in the sweat. Words. That's normally a Bradley catchphrase, but I'll steal it for today. Words. How the fandom turned from stepping into the squared circle is what I meant to say.
So I used to. I think this is probably the same for so many people. When I was like a kid, I would watch it with my dad. Basically, I'd like to say it was an exclusive club, but it wasn't really, because not sure about you, Trav, but I know that Brad is part of this club where we have shithole dads. So that kind of died off, but it was always something that was kind of there in the back of my mind. But again, it sounds silly, but I never actually, outside of what I would watch with him as a kid, I never actually liked watching wrestling particularly. It was never, my main kind of, interest. I loved the games. I played every game every single year as it came out, but I never actually watched much wrestling. And then when was 29? When was WrestleMania 29? Was that 2013? Something like that. My mate, he was big into wrestling. I was the only one of our friends group that wasn't. And he got WrestleMania 29 on DVD in New York. And I was like, you know what, fuck it, we'll sit down and watch it. And I was like, this is fucking great. I was like, this is amazing. The first thing that you see, basically, as it starts, is a fucking shield come out. It's just, that kind of grabbed me. And I was like, I want to fucking do this. And so what me and my mates started doing was, it wasn't really backyarding because we didn't wrestle, but we started, again, this is going to probably sound even stupider, is we started, we had this massive green, like a massive field in the middle of where we lived. And we would start doing laps around that, and we made our own almost gym, kind of out of just stuff that we found about, and started, kind of training for it almost. Obviously, we had no idea what we were doing at all. We were just a bunch of, however old we were in 2013. What's that? Well, 10 years ago. So we were a bunch of 15-year-olds, but not even cool 15-year-olds. We were loser 15-year-olds. So we just started kind of, doing press ups and, all that kind of thing. We were like, yeah, we're fucking sick. And we probably weren't doing any of it correct. And we, just from there, we always spoke about wanting to, actually do it. Just to give you a hint of how cringeworthy we were. If I remember right, we called ourselves, as in a stable, we called ourselves Dead Time. Don't know why. And we came out to Hollywood Undead, and there was my mate Dennis. Who was Titus Payne, was his name. My mate Connor, literally, was was Torque. He called Torque, and that was because I think he rode like a scrambler. He did like scrambler racing. He was probably the coolest of all of us, actually, when I think about it. And then mine was Marcus Alice, because it was named. It was purely so that I could walk out to Shinedown's "Her Name Is Alice," but obviously it doesn't really make much sense. But it's just a fucking cool song. And also, I thought I was being so like clever, because I thought like Marcus would be like, if the crowd chanted Marcus, it would be like telling you to mark them out, if that makes sense, you know? Like
Marcus.
yeah, exactly, like make them into marks. So I always thought that was like fucking so clever. And then that stuck with me because I started training in 2014, because I ended up moving away. And started training with DPW, not Deadlock. Am I allowed to mention another pod on here? Sorry, I don't know if you're competing with them, but so yeah, the DPW, which was Dragon Pro Wrestling, because I lived in Wales. Everything in Wales has to be related to a dragon in some way or another. It's the law. And it was trained by one Mark Andrews, Pete Dunne as well, Mike Bird, and Wildboar Mike Hitchman, and that was great. I loved it. Originally, I think it was Swansea, and then we moved to Newport. But it was great. But I didn't do it for that long. I did it for like a couple of years or so, or like a year, and then, life, exams, college, everything kind of got in the way, and then I didn't pick it up until we started again, Brad. So it was by then. Obviously you kind of grow up a little bit, and the names change, and I was like, rather than trying to be like this kind of cool, when it came down to thinking of like who I'm going to be, it wasn't going to be like this cool, edgy character, because I'm not cool and edgy. So I was like, you know what I'll just be a fucking goofball.
How do you go from the patriarch, the super dad, to the Warhog?
It was basically the same thing that happened to Perry Saturn, where it was one too many unprotected headshots, and they started talking to a mop. But I started wearing a skirt. In kayfabe, anyway. Basically, I'd been Champ Rogers for so long, and I'd always been face. I'm not imaginative enough to kind of figure out how to do it as a heel, and I wanted to just kind of change things up a little bit. And I'd recently converted to Norse paganism anyway. So I was like, why not incorporate that into it a little bit? I think I first spoke about it with Ben Slugger Hampton, because he's like a endless fountain of knowledge and a great research for wrestlers. That dude just he gets it, and he's so helpful, and he's always willing to help everyone. He's a top man. I absolutely love him. So I think I was talking to him, and we were just like kind of spitballing ideas and just kind of like shooting the shit. And I was just like, you know what? I want to do something that's totally different that I can, have a bit of fun with. And so I was like, what if I just start fucking, wearing face paint and put like, start wearing runes and stuff, and just start doing this Warhog thing. And he thought it was a pretty cool idea. And then, I was just, as all great indie wrestlers do, I was looking for the gear on Amazon, and I came across something called a utility kilt. And if you see something online called a utility kilt, you've got to fucking buy it. So I got that, and then it all just kind of fell into place. So it all kind of followed from the kilt, really. I still feel now, even though I've been doing it for a little bit of a time, I still feel now like I'm still finding little niche bits that I want to kind of change, but I feel like you should always be, kind of improving yourself anyway. Just kind of came out of nowhere, really. I was like, you know what, I want to be a fucking like Viking thing. And then I was doing a show for GTM. It was myself and Sammy Blue, and we called ourselves Starship Indigo just because that's a fucking sick name. And we wanted to sound like an 80s like rock band, so we went for like that, like off of, because the band's called Starship and that, and he's blue, so and it was us versus the aforementioned Gung Ho Muttley and Maverick Matt Williams, Mav and Mutt connection, and Ben, the ring announcer, came up to me and was asking me for like our details in how we want to be announced, and we were like, what's our weight, and I was like, I don't fucking know, just heavy, I guess. And he was like, "Where are you from?" And I was like, because originally it was the Welsh wetlands is that I was billed from for there. And I don't think I was paying attention. I think he asked us I thought he asked us our name or something, and I was like, "Yeah, we're from Andromeda or what the fuck ever." So from that I became like this space Viking.
So you mentioned about was it North paganism?
Norse paganism,
North,
yeah.
Norse, right? Not North. So could you give us a little insight on that? Because I'm curious. Because I've never heard of that. So you don't have to spend too much time on it. We'll get on to the last question in a minute. I'm quite
Yeah,
curious
yeah.
about that. 'Cause I've never so take it away.
So I was never like religious or anything throughout my whole life, and arguably I'm not even really now, even though it is technically a religion, but it kind of it promotes your own exploration of like belief and things like that. It's basically following, and I know it always gets the same reaction from people listening. I know there'll be someone commenting, and I fully accept that it is fucking cringeworthy, and that's partly why I like it. Is it's based on the Norse gods, so Odin, Freyr, Njord, all those kind of people. But rather than believing that they exist or existed or are a power, you believe what they kind of represent. So it's like a figure put to like a representation for something, and then you kind of use it to manifest things you want to get in life effectively. So while it is technically a religion, it's to me, I use it more as like a kind of guide or, an outlet, some ethereal kind of body to put my, wishes and goals into so that it's, makes it easier to kind of manage. So like, for example, there's a god called Njord that I mentioned. He's the god of seafaring, and came with that was, the prosperity that the ships would bring, because obviously they bring the goods in and gold and things like that. So it's just that kind of, I guess it's like a philosophy, I guess, or like it's just a way of manifesting things, really. But some people do take it as like a strict religion, like I believe in this, and I believe that I will go to Valhalla and all that kind of stuff. But I can't. I personally can't get behind that kind of thing. But to each their own.
That was cool. I think that sounds quite cool, to be fair. I wanted to ask
It's
quickly, I know it's just a thrown-in last-minute question, but like the thing that you put on Spotify a couple months ago, is it called The Project or something like that?
It is. I don't know what you mean. I didn't put it up. That's Father J.D. Reese.
Oh, well, sorry. Father J.D. Reese put it up, right? What is the meaning behind the project? One, because I genuinely not in like a
If,
disrespectful way.
if,
I'm a
if
bit
you
baffled.
can, anyway, don't spoil anything if you can't talk about it.
All I can say is you have to follow the project. No, I can explain it because I'll be honest, I fucking forgot about it. So, so it's a obviously it's another fucking gimmick. I don't know if I'm going to do more with it. I might do. It was the start of like this kind of culty kind of gimmick where rather than obviously I do the voice for him. But rather than me, coming out and play, originally it started where I was going to come out and play a character, but then, it kind of turned into, it's like a trigger that's not been pulled yet, where it will eventually be a reason to do things in kayfabe where I need an explanation. Because one of the things that I like to do when it comes to wrestling is I like to be prepared in terms of potential eventualities that can happen, and I like to do things where I know why I'm doing it and it makes sense story wise, even if it's just in my own head, for why things are done. So it's kind of at the moment not a lot is happening with it because I forgot to record more, but mostly it's there in case I ever need it. I actually just before we get before we move on, the JD Reese voice is 100% based on Carl Kennedy as well. I will say that. I literally googled. I was like, how do I make my voice sound fucking cool like that? And then but I had to, because I can imagine that you can just kind of go into it. But I remember I had to there was like a guide, and it was like you had to like breathe out or like go ooh until you're at that point, because my voice is generally quite soft, so it was like you had to go like ooh and then you have to like talk with a southern drawl, that kind of thing. And so it was based roughly, very roughly, on the Carl Kennedy voice, which I think is iconic.
Again, myself and you met in Ensor. We met via the likes of Ash and oh my god, I want to get his Sam. Is it Mossy? Is that
Sam
his
Moss.
name? Yeah, two cool dudes, standout dudes, and then of course Sammy. We came in and what have you, and then of course
That's a
within
censor then, innit? That's a censor then, innit? And you missed out Richard. What happened to Richard? He's on the
well,
podcast.
they're not here, right? They're not here. We've changed them for Ty.
Right.
They're not great.
Cool enough. I'm not cool enough to be Richard. Richard is way
Sorry,
cooler than me.
Richard. I tried to back up for you there, but
Look, Richard, they're not here. They never pulled the weight anyway. We already know that.
I love Richard. I won't hear any bad talk about Richard.
Right, so with that, of course, we started this wrestling journey together. What we came to learn, and what I was warned about, and I'm sure you were warned about privy to it, the toxicity, the politics, I kind of just pushed it all away and I was like, okay, I'm sure it's not as bad as it's assumed. You don't have to name names, of course. We're not going to name names, or we can't. Well, not name names if you want, but of course we'll bleep it out. You don't have to say anything you don't want to, or give information that you don't wish to. But coming to towards the end of my tenure, which I've kind of got in hot water over the past 2 weeks, big shock, because we did our wrestling pod, and it stirred up quite a lot of issues with the former people we were there with, to which I've been accused of being a bully, a narcissist, and a liar. So first off, before I want to get to that, I just want to say I would never, ever, lie. Why would I need to? I'm not gaining any. I didn't gain anything from the past 3 years from that place. Why would I feel the need to lie about anything now? Number two, bullying. I did when I said things about certain people that I didn't and don't like, sure, but I never bullied the people that were in that conversation that we brought up a few weeks ago. It's a very serious accusation. I would never even dream of it. I never went into that podcast saying, oh, I wonder what I could do today to make said person feel shitty about the way that they ran that company and about the way that they treated me and made me feel, oh, it's going to be good. No, I went into that podcast episode explaining my issues, telling my truth and my story. And if that makes you feel bad, that's not on me. So that's all I'll say on that. I apologise for the tangent, but I just needed to get that out there because I've been sat on that for weeks and I refuse to have that on my conscience.
This bullying kind of accusation that you mentioned, Brad, is, bullying is, everyone is allowed their own fucking opinion. Everyone is allowed to make a comment, and the definition of bullying, without having it in front of me, is like a persistent, meaningful, purposeful attack on someone, to try and, negatively affect them. Saying I don't like so-and-so because they did this to me and it negatively affected me, it's not fucking bullying. It's calling someone out for doing something to you that you didn't fucking like. There are plenty of people that have shit opinions in our, in our circles. I've been there in a group chat where someone has said that the worst thing about the speaking out movement was that it gave women egos. So that kind of gives you the idea.
That's not the first time that comment's been brought up on this podcast.
I think you fucking know who made it. That makes it sound like I'm saying Trav made it. Trav didn't make that comment, but I think we all know who made that comment, and we all know that there was no repercussions that came from that. And if anything, they did better in the company that they were in, that I will not name. So I think it goes to show that people like to use the bullying card or, things like that when they don't like something that someone else has said about them. Bleep this next bit out when you put it in the thingy. You're a fucking and I hate you.
You know what? If I'm starting to bleep, yes, you are a fucking Bradley, any thoughts?
God, wait a minute. Let me Google. You're a fucking...
What was your question again? I forgot what the question was.
Managed to drag you back in by offering you the role of head booker.
Trying to remember, it was a while ago when I took over, because I Originally, I was going to leave just because I was sick of kind of everything that had gone down with, because obviously, like I said earlier, there was some drama with one of my best friends that was there, and so I was kind of sick of kind of how they'd been treated and how they'd been made to feel. And I was ready to leave then. I felt like the whole point of the company, as it was put across to me when we first started, was that it was supposed to build up the people that were there. They were given these opportunities and get them to the point where they would be the ones on the shows and they would be kind of, rewarded for everything. But there was always these outside people that were constantly brought in. You need a level of that, don't get me wrong, because no one's going to come and watch absolute nobodies, but there should still be an opportunity there for some people. There was this promise, there was this carrot that was always hung in front of people, but it was never, put down for the donkey to eat. I had a chat with the owner, and I was like, I'm not happy with kind of how things have gone. I will take over booking, and I will do this, that, and the other to try and make a point of, to try and get it to that point where I wanted it to be. I can't remember what the first show was that I put together, but I sat down and I put together all these kind of storylines that spanned kind of months going forwards. And a big one was...
I believe, sorry to interrupt, I believe it was All Hallows Eve, I believe. So I remember correctly, that's when you put me in the main event, and thank you for that.
Well, because
Continue.
from there, I then had an opportunity to look at the people that because I'd been training with you all as well. I had an opportunity to see how people were getting along and see who really put the effort in and give opportunities kind of based on that. And so that's, why I put you in that kind of position, Brad, because, you were there every week and you were easily the best on the mic out of everyone. I won't mention his name just because, it's nothing bad, but just in case he doesn't want it and I don't have to faff about. There was a guy who was there every week. Lovely guy. I was in a tag team with him for a little bit. He gave it his all, and he was good. He was really good, but he was never given the opportunity to do what, to kind of keep moving on. And I had originally planned for him to win the Rumble from the number one spot, get continuously beaten down by the champion at the time, and then win the title, obviously, in a big, massive babyface pop at the end of Zenith or whenever it was going to be, which was like our WrestleMania. What was said to me, I never spoke to him about it, but what was said to me was so-and-so doesn't want to win the title because he doesn't feel ready. And now I can, to be fair, with how humble the guy was, I could kind of see him saying that. So I don't know whether it was, but it was the fact that it wasn't said to me by the guy, it was said to me by someone else that made me think, are you sure? Is it really, that he doesn't want to win it, or is it that you don't want him to have it? And it was kind of the start of the downfall. Because keep in mind, like Brad said, I was doing the graphics, I was doing the actual book itself, I was spending late nights, kind of writing all these things. I wasn't spending time with my family and my kids when I got home from work, because I'd spend all day at work, thinking about what I could do and writing up what I could while I was there for stories. And then I'd come home and I'd spend up all night actually writing out the matches and things. So it was proper, affecting me in those kind of ways. But then on top of that, I'd come in with all these plans and I'd proved that I could do it because, we actually started getting a crowd in, which was we never really had much of a crowd before. Part of one of the conditions of when I took over booking is I said, I want control of booking. I don't want people to step on my toes. I know that I can do this well, so just leave me to do it. But then people would, certain people would keep kind of, saying, oh, I want to do this with this. And I'd be like, okay, well, that kind of throws everything else off that I've done. But, I can't really, you can just tell me to fuck off at any point. So I suppose I have to. So I'd make a change here and then that would throw this thing off and then that would throw that off. And it would just all snowball where I had to end up throwing away basically, a month's worth of work because it would be straight after from the, and it got to the point where it would be on the day of a fucking show where we'd be getting ready and this guy would make me change all these different things and change all this order, and then there wouldn't be people wouldn't no show, and everything would be thrown off, and then they'd throw like hissy fit and then they wouldn't even fucking turn up. So the straw that broke the camel's back was I'd written the rumble, I'd got everyone ready, I had organised for everyone to be there. Everyone that was in the rumble I had put in, and this was including people that this other person wanted included in there that are from a complete different show, which was completely against what I wanted to do with it, and I laid out from the start. The owner wasn't there. I don't remember the reason. I think he didn't want to be. And so it was me, and I think one other member of management was there. So I was running I was the showrunner that day. I was dealing with all the wrestlers. I was organising everyone. I was sorting out, people that were coming in, and sorting out like running the chairs, getting the ring up, getting, everyone ready. With all these people that, I didn't fucking know because I'd had to put from this other show, and I didn't really know, what they were like. It was, so the whole day was just boiling over, and it was our biggest show of the year. And it got to the point where some of the wrestlers came up to me at the end of the day, and they were like, "Oh mate, I've not been paid." And I was like, What do you mean? What do you mean you've not been paid? I thought that had all been sorted out beforehand by someone. I was like, no, I ain't been paid." And so I went over to the other person that was there that was supposed to be sorting it out, who was higher. If we're talking about hierarchy, they were much higher up than I was, and they were like, "Oh, they'll just have to wait, someone's have to sort it." And I was like, these people have driven from fucking Leeds, to get here, and there wasn't a lot of money. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it wasn't a whole lot of money. I think it was like 20 quid per person. It was like a team of like 3 or 4, and that would have covered fuel on the way home, basically. And they were like, "Mate, we can't. If we haven't got our money, we can't get home. We're like an hour away from home, if not more." And I was like, and they came back to me over, and I was like, "We're not getting fucking paid." And I was like, What do you mean you're not getting fucking paid? Like, my whole point is I wanted people to get paid and wanted to be done the right way, like I mentioned earlier." And I went over, and they're like, "Oh no, we can't get it sorted." So, no, I fucking said I put in a list of fucking people months in advance and how much needs to be paid, and it was said that was fine, and we had the funds for that. So these people need fucking paying now. And the person that was kind of fobbing them off was in a position where again, I don't want to say names, they are in a position where if there wasn't company funds, if we say, they are in that position where the funds would have to come from them because they're at that level of involvement with the company. So I was like, well, you're going to have to fucking pay them then, I mean, I'm not paying them because, one, I don't get paid for this shit, I make nothing from it, and I've done all of these fucking jobs, and that is one thing I will take any amount of work on because I enjoy it, and I like being involved in that way, but I will not take that on because I can't afford it. I can't afford to shell out, like, even if it was like 40 quid. I was not in a position there where I had no fucking money to myself at all. I spent all of it getting to fucking training and shit. And we had this fucking back and forth, and they eventually got the owner on a call and managed to, I can't remember what was on that conversation. I didn't hear what was on the conversation with the call, but I went over to the people and I was like, "You fucking wait here 1 second, because I'm going to go over and make sure that you get fucking paid, because that is a piss take." The problem should have been between the owner and this other person that, because they didn't communicate to each other and didn't sort out payment. The way that I am concerned, anything like that, logistics-wise, ultimately falls on the head of the owner, because that is their job, to do. They are the only person that's technically employed by that company as a business. I am not employed by them. I am a fucking volunteer. And they ended up getting paid, and they had to get paid. I think they got paid out of, like personal money from the owner and stuff like that. And then we ended up clearing everything up, and I was on my way home, and we had like a management group chat, and there was the snottiest message that I had ever read. I was like, why are you? The person that sent it hadn't done anything throughout the day. They had, I had kind of run around and kind of sorted things out, and they had just, kind of sat there. They got involved in a match, I believe, which is a whole kettle of fish for another fucking day. And if you watch Zenith, you'll fucking know. It was this long fucking message. I was just like, who the fuck are you talking to? After everything, you were in no position to fucking moan. And in that message that they said that they were fucking quitting. They literally said in that message, they are quitting. It's like, okay, fine, whatever. The owner messaged, I can't remember what they said, but again, it was like fucking accusatory. And I straight away, I'd had a stressful day, and I was like, you know what, I'm not fucking having this. And I said, well, these are the reasons. I can tell you everything that went wrong, and I can tell you exactly why it went wrong. And not a single one was caused by anything that I did. The only thing that I did was fix these fucking problems that you have left. So if you want to continue this and you want it to be successful, then you need to change these fucking things. And it went for this like this back and forth. And in the end, I was like, you know what? I'm not getting paid for this. I'm not getting anything out of this anymore. It is nothing but stress. I'm not fucking hanging out with my family. I'm not seeing my 2 little kids. I'm doing shit at work because I've got this stress on me. Fuck you. I'm not being talked to like that. I'm going to leave. And then, obviously, Brad left. So, we were the only ones that kind of pulled the trigger on that. And then obviously, of course, came back to me, because everything fucking gets back to me, is all the shit that they spoke about me afterwards, and spoke about Brad afterwards. And one thing that, and again, this is going to make me sound big-headed, and I don't mean it to, but I have to be honest with it. I have never gotten, and I fully acknowledge, I have never gotten to the position that I'm in, and I have never become known in the way that I am, because I think it's fair to say that quite a few people know me. I've never gotten to that position off of my in-ring merit or anything like that. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, I'm not a particularly good wrestler. Good at character work, good at promos, not a particularly good wrestler. But I get along with people. I have a lot of friends in wrestling, and that's why if I get into a different company or things like that, it's usually because I'm friends with the people and I can offer something to them. But at least I have that in of being friendly with them before. Because I always, I do. It's a classic of when you get to a show, you shake everybody's fucking hand, you introduce yourself, and you just be, you be a person with them. It's become kind of this thing, and obviously, Brad, tell me if I am wrong, so it doesn't just sound like I'm tooting my own fucking horn. But it's come this thing where if I leave a company or I fall out with someone, usually, because I try to be as inoffensive as possible, usually it means that that person's fucking done something.
To speak from my personal experience, I saw obviously I understood what was happening because I got told about it, but after I actually sat back and looked and thought about everything that you said was going wrong and what was happening, I even decided to leave myself, so I can speak from personal experience.
Well, when I left afterwards and all this, I was just happy to just, I had a bit of my life back. I had my time back. I had other places that I could wrestle, so, I hadn't really lost anything like that. But it was, the thing that crossed the line was this fucking talking behind my back. And, in every circle that you talk in, there will be someone that will get back to me generally about things. Because, like I say, I'm friends with a lot of people. That's what pissed me off. And that's kind of what was like, you know what? I tried to leave this. I vented my frustrations and I left. And if you want to talk about me like that behind my back, then fuck you. All I did was tell people. I got sent screenshots. I showed people screenshots. I got told what was said. I told people what was said. All I did was just what one person had said. I'll say in private, even though it was in a group chat. I just shared what one person was open to saying to certain other people that they know wouldn't argue back to them. Shared that to people that would argue back to them. And what happened from the back of that? How many people left? 20 odd people left. Their kind of allegiance with another company broke down because that other company the people were actively deciding, I don't want to be, associated with that company. And they fucking closed down. I'm probably not the straw that broke the camel's back for that, but I feel like I was at least one of the fibers that gave way. I'm still here, and it's gone. And Brad is still here, and it's gone. And Trav is still here, and it's gone. Everyone that they were ever spoke down to, anyone that they ever trod on or took advantage of or took the money from when they shouldn't have because they weren't offering the service that they advised and the protection that they should have been offering is still here, and they are fucking gone.
Wow, that's kiss. Bravo. What a way to end.
Shucky ducky, quack quack.
You're one of very few people that welcomed me with very open arms, and one person that I truly hope to take into the future, whether it's wrestling or otherwise. I wish you nothing but the best, mate, and thank you so much for coming on the pod.
Yeah, same to you. Thank you. Honestly, thank you for having me. I've it's like I've been messaging Brad. I've been fucking excited for this all week. I can't wait. I love it.
Yeah.
I'd love to be back on sometime. Just kind of, and I've always said this again, just to kind of, reciprocate it a bit. Is I've always said that you're like my favorite person that I've shared the ring with. I feel like, again, this is a very far off comparison. I've always felt like you're like the Randy Orton to my John Cena when we're in the ring, except we're both kind of bumbling around, pretending we know what we're doing. But I've always enjoyed it, and I do hope that someday, your body willing, your arm willing, that we can do our best to finish our best of 3. I reckon. I'm fairly sure you've beaten me every single match that we've had, which is bullshit.
Yeah, I just want to add to Ty that I really respect you and your sound dude. I also appreciate that you let me do a crossbody on you, and luckily I didn't land on your head. And
You did great. No, you did great.
I'm
You
just-
said what you worried about. Because I remember, if you don't mind me saying it,
Yeah.
I remember that you were a bit nervous about it when we were going to do
Yeah.
it. But you were great. Because it was you that was the final one, you versus me for the title, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, so cheers
And
for
I
that.
was just like, I'm just like, sold the fucking spear like a champ. Hey, Champ Rochester.
There you go.
No, so thanks for giving me that opportunity and being on the pod.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you, guys. Glad that we could all work together at some point. It'd be great to share the ring with both of you again. I'm going to be taking my next booking isn't until like February time, so I'm taking a couple of months sabbatical. Get my training back up to where it needs to be, and just kind of take a fucking rest. I'm old. In the words of CM Punk, I'm old, I'm tired, and I work with fucking children.
Who knows? Never say never. It's the wrestling-based kid, as they say.
Exactly.
So hopefully we'll all share the ring together one day. And it will just be, in the crowd or me in my sling watching you two killing it.
Well, something to keep your eye on, and this is a first. I think this is the first time it's ever been. It's not an official announcement, but it's something that's in the pipeline. Me and a friend of mine, who is a very good friend and has been in wrestling for years and years, are currently in the very early stages of potentially starting our own wrestling company. Keep an eye on that. More will come from that, and that's definitely something that I would like to get you guys involved in when we kind of get the ball rolling a little bit more on that bit. So something to look forward to, potentially.
Oh, absolutely, I love that. Very much appreciate that. And if that's the friend that I think I know who it is, then you two are the perfect team and would fucking kill it. And honestly, change the fucking game. So with all that said and done, my wonderful co-host Trav, my best buddy, and my super best buddy, the Patriarch. Ladies, gents, and bees, take care of yourselves, and thank you all so much for watching another episode of the Breaking Brad Pod. I've been your host, Brad. Happy New Year, Happy Christmas, and take care of yourselves, and we'll see you all in 2024. Bye-bye for now.
Whoa! Just had to put that in there.